What's going on, guys? It's Corey Vanderplu at Corey Photo on Twitter and Instagram. Today I'm going to show you how Apple achieves this wild look they have for their store photos. It's kind of a mixture between HDR and just heavy retouching it. You know, following my standards that I always say, I simplify, simplify, simplify. That's really what Apple does to give it this clean, you know, simple, polished look. And I'm going to show you the difference between three very different stores. You got one outside with a lot of pavement and very clean. You get kind of a busier outdoor store. There's actually a string of lights along here. I'll walk you through that. And then an indoor mall store. You can see that the stores indoors are all kind of similar. They all have a different look and vibe that I'm not really in control of. It all comes down to the client notes. And you can see that indoors all have a kind of a different aesthetic, but it's really kind of the same approach. But what's really interesting is the hero shot, this main image of the store that's really used the most. That's what we're going to dive into today. I'll dig a little bit into these just so you can see kind of what they do, but these are pretty self-explanatory. It's these beasts that we're going to be really focusing on. So let's start with the first one. We'll start with this indoor mall shot. All right, so this is open, and you can see we had client notes going into the 7th round on this one, so very finicky, which is usually the case with commercial clients. I'm going to leave the crop on. You see, I still always follow with the crop. Crop is always king, but let's go right down to our raw photo, which is a monster difference, as you can see. So let's walk you through how I got from there to here, which we'll just go step by step, make it very simple. So if we take a look at the raws, you can see that it's this pretty standard, not even color balanced, and we're rocking up and down with the aperture to make sure that everything's exposed, even this weird stuff down here. And then we're coming right back down to make sure everything is still perfectly exposed, even like this logo in here, all these lights. And then we're just gonna do that a couple different times. You can see that this screen was turned on, and now I'm doing one with it off, mainly to get rid of these reflections in here. You can see that that back screen gives really bad reflections. So now we turn that screen off. You can see it got perfect crystal clear glass, which I'll be using. And you can see now one with all the store lights off. That gives us cool shadows and prevents weird shadows from coming along the inside. You can see if I go back one, you have all this weird glare on the floor, but when I come through here, no weird glare on the floor. And then we're doing all of our exposures there to make sure we got our bases covered. Then we do some with the screens. Well, actually these screens are cycling, so there's a big difference between dropping screens in. But now we do one with these lights turned on so we can get cool glows and make sure we get the exposure right. And then that's pretty much our bases covered. So now we have to do is take these 30 images and figure out how we can combine them. So what I always do is we'll start with here, throw our crops on, and then I always take and start with the exposure where the store looks the best inside, and then I work around that. So the next thing I did was change for the exposure to be on the outside. I took the outdoor shot with the lights turned off, so you can see the reflection is a big help along here. Just drop that in, and then what did I do? I took the properly exposed shelves that are like almost blown out white, but dropped those in to give you that detail back. Very small subtle thing here. Then I got rid of all the reflections using that one plate where this back screen was turned off. And I fixed the logo. Again, I couldn't have done that without a proper exposure. Then I did the same thing. This looks a little blown out. Again, just making sure everything's perfectly exposed. And then fixing all of these little tiny distractions. And now we're getting into work here. Getting rid of this big grate. And these are all techniques I use for my skin retouching as well. You see it's very universal. And I'm dropping the exposure here. Again, simplifying, stripping it down. How can I make it easier? So this one was actually cool. You can see on this fix, where did I just get this wall from? How did that even happen? But what I did was created a completely new layer, flattened image, copied and pasted this. So now I have kind of this floating tiny little wall. And actually all I did was stretch this out, free transform, go to perspective probably, and then just created the wall, you know, kind of like that, and then painted it in. You got to really be creative with stuff like this. I did the same thing over here, just copied and pasted this one over to here. Cool. I haven't seen these in a while. So now what am I doing? Doing small little color shifts on the wall and the ground. Just small things to make it a little bit more even and uniform. Again, more reflections. I see lots of reflections. It's always getting rid of small, tiny things. How can you strip it down and simplify? I mean, it's echoing over and over. Simplify, simplify. Okay, now we're getting into color. So it's a little yellow and blue here, which is not too satisfying to look at. So now we got rid of the hue and saturation. Give it a little snap on the outside. You can see this is such a big difference from where we started. Wild. And then more color balance. Some more of the hue and saturation. These are all small, tiny little techniques. Now I'm oversaturating the wood inside to make it kind of snappy and poppy. So this is actually, they didn't like how soft this was, so this was a complete replacement screen. So this is from a file. Very clean, very clean. And then you can see I actually dropped in legit Apple TV screens. So again, another file. These are high-res JPEGs that they gave us, almost like computer generated. And then just final effects where I'm getting rid of these shadows again. I mean, these reflections again. You see the constant theme of getting rid of reflections over and over and over again. And these wouldn't have been possible if I didn't shoot the store without the lights on. So there you have it. First round. Big shift. But that's where it comes from. Cleaning up, simplifying, and getting all the perfect exposures from multiple different shots. And then we went through round 2. Big changes from the client. Darken on the window, make more emphasis on the store. I think they made a major improvement here. Darken the store again. So now we're going into all finicky notes. A color shift. Wow, that actually made a huge difference. Here, what all I'm doing is taking like some beige, powder puffing in. I use that a lot with the skin, but I'm just really painting everything in. It's almost like turning into an illustration over a photo. But I love this look. I love the over stylized stuff. You can see it's a big difference between round 4. Just stringing the notes along, not giving them to me all in one bunch, but it's what they're paying for. And there you go. There's the final. Monster before and after. But you see it's all about polishing down. Let's look at a different one. So this image is probably the most hectic image I've ever worked on in my entire life. Multiple comments. One of the first images I've done. Looks very clean now, but the before and after is shocking to say the least. Wow. Insanity. Even just looking at this now is giving me some anxiety. Woo! I don't even know how I got there. So this store hadn't even been opened yet. These were immovable. Couldn't move these out of the way. Neither could I move these planters. There's a string of lights. You notice on all of these stores, you notice we're always shooting. This one doesn't really count, but we're always shooting at like 5 a.m., 6 a.m. when the sun's just at that like perfect dusk. So that comes into factor. What they didn't see when they were scouting these images is that there were a string of lights on. So let's see how I tackle this layer by layer. Do the same thing where I focus on getting the store looking nice. So I drop the store in. Some adjustment layers there to get the brightness right. Window siding. Oh, so I'm going right into fixing the lights. Let's get the window siding out of the way. I don't even know what I did here. Top of the building, windows. Holy. So this is the siding. And you see the color. I had to completely recreate this, but you can see that the siding here is all, I want it to be all one shape, but it's all has a gradient because of the lights. Shout out to Christmas. So I just blocked the whole thing in, and then used the top of the building. I really just clone sampled, nothing fancy, just clone sampled all of this all the way across. And then I took the windows and created these from scratch. So what I did was look to see where the windows actually were. So you take your windows here, you drop the opacity down, then you can see where the windows are. So I just recreated one window, made a nice shade, and just duplicated all the way across. This was no easy task. This probably took me about 2 hours. And then this is just simple clone stamp. You see, once you get it out of there, you can really clone stamp everything. The pole and the lights. Look at all these layers. Jesus. So let's just go really quickly through these and see what I did. So yeah, cloned out all the bricks. Cloned out these edges to make it look more seamless. This was a little bit easier because it was just on white, and then I had to re-drop the logo back in. Getting rid of the pole. Look at that. I have to go right over the artwork. I can't believe I did this. Recreating the planter. Holy. And just chipping away at it. Wow. I feel like I took this chunk and skewed it in to look like it was the same one. But I think I completely redid all of this wood anyways. But the pole's gone. And now it's just fixing my mess. Wow. Pole and lights. That is incredible. Looks a little sloppy, but I think I go back and fix this. Back to the store interiors, back to our Apple store fixing. Oh wow, got rid of these. It's insanity. Fixing those tables, getting those out of the way. Dropping in an Apple logo that's lit. Fixing the interiors. One exterior fix. Getting rid of all those lights. Simplify. Wow. So what I did here was I actually took all of this and stretched it over with liquify, and then cut it back to that seam. That's how I got rid of that table. You can see the brick actually looks a little stretched. And I got rid of the shadows here from the old tables, and then more fix. Oh wow. So you can tell, if you look at the original, you could tell I must have just taken something flat like this and just stretched it. Look at the size difference in the wood. It's big. If you look at it now, you might think, wow, that's kind of a cheap little job, but not too bad. Then I had to get rid of the planters. You can see I got comments here from more people. Client comments. And planter's gone. You can see it's starting to get darken out and round out. It's starting to look really nice. This tree's getting a little buggered up. Fixing some splotches. Now it's just brightening and contrast. Color shifts. Yeah, fixing blotchiness up in here. And there you have it. What an insane before and after. Arguably the most insane photo ever. You can see it kind of loses its photographic integrity here and looks kind of illustrative. This was absolutely bonkers. Just the store looks great, but holy. One of the hardest images I ever worked on. This probably took 60 hours. This probably took a full week. All right, let's go into our last one. This is one of the first ones I ever did. You gotta remember to remove these, but this is a working file, so I'm sure I took it off the final. Look at all the lines just being perfect, and maybe I can show you the first one. It's pretty good. I mean, the tilt shift lens is pretty good with getting the line straight. Maybe I'll do a video about how I did that at another video. But But when I switch it back on, everything is bang on. Let me get rid of these guides just so it's easier to look at. And where do we start from? Whoa, overexposed, light poles, big puddles, no parking, parking lines, doors, security cameras. Crazy. Yeah, we got rid of a black line in here. The store's a jumbled mess. So let's go through it. I usually work with the crops on, but for this, I'm just going to take the crops off so you can see what I did. But the crops always pre-approved from the client beforehand. I would show you that kind of stuff, but I'm under an NDA. I can't show you all the Apple documents. I can only show you how I retouch this. So let's jump right in. How do we start? Start with the main base, because like this is, again, like probably 5 a.m. somewhere where there's palm trees. So you're looking for that nice blue sky. So I stuck with this exposure first. Then I dove into the store, darken it down. Make sure you get all those screens right. Get the nice screen back here to make sure it has all the detail. Oh wow, what a crazy cleanup back here. Get rid of the logos of Victoria's Secret. So really all I'm doing is clone brush. Clone all the way around the logo. Even in here, looks almost a little too sharp. It also gets rid of the blown out vibe that you get from this, where you can see it's kind of soft and has a halo. But cloning around that, they don't mind the building. It's just the logo and the other brand logo. So got rid of that. Darken down this logo. This is all logo fix stuff. Look at this big fix. Look at that. Just polishing the pavement. Getting rid of all the lines. All of this distracting junk in here. Let's just go through this really quick. Wow, it's a lot of folders. So let's see how we started. Fix 1. Oh, all reflections and logo stuff. Look how much simpler that made it, getting rid of all that junk. Fixing this vent in the back. What was that? It was like a double logo. I think it's like a reflection. Got rid of that. Got rid of more reflections. And then let's just take a quick peek in this. It's wild how many layers there are. So you can see how I chip away at this. Starting to get rid of poles. You can see it gets a little bit sloppy. If you do the broad strokes and then you go and finesse with the dodge and burn, and then finesse again, get rid of all the inconsistencies and really smooth it out. This looks like I did a big powder puff, kind of added a whole cast over this to kind of really smooth it out. And then I added my own sheen from the store here to give it its own gradient to make it look a little bit more natural. Started with a curves layer and then a color balance to make it match the store. But that's a really cool one. That was a lot of work. Then we're mixing, getting rid of this is all clone stamp, by the way. Nothing fancy. Mix between clone stamp and healing brush when you need the blending options, but mostly clone stamp. And there you have it. Again, I love this one. I love when you see that big dramatic shift. And then what do we get into? You can see it gets a little sloppy in here, but there's some method to my madness. Let's go back into it. Stamp layer. Small little details in the inside. Again, always simplifying. How can you strip it down, make it more simple? That's how my brain always works. And doing jobs like this really translates into my own work because the client is so finicky. What am I doing in here? Just adding pillars back. See, I got rid of that. But what I was saying is the client's so finicky, it gives you such an eye to really learn how to simplify stuff, and that translates into my portrait work as well. Again, small little tweaks to make it look more natural and real. All color shifts. Small little tiny things to make it look smooth and perfect. And this was really the first big push Now we're gonna go, this is round one is always when I finish, and then it's always the client notes. So what did the client do after this? They fixed this even more. That's it. I guess it is still a little sloppy, so I had to recreate my own vent. I had just made this whole thing gray and used the brush tool or the B tool to create my own lines. But I'm using this as a guideline. It's a weird vent. Got rid of this even more to make the logo much nicer. And then I did a bunch more. This is the round 3, so I went from round 2. I guess my lines weren't straight. Ooh, and I made the sky a little richer. And just simplified these trees so they weren't so dark. Throw the crop back on so it's nice and simple, and look at that before and after. Huge. Again, this is about 20 to 30 hours of work, just chipping away at it, doing the process. But yeah, what a crazy before and after. This has helped my retouching so much from a technical standpoint, mechanical standpoint, teaching patience, and really just dealing with clients and becoming better at that. So that's it, guys. Those were the 3 big ones. If you guys like this series, you want to see how I did more of these stores, because there's an infinite amount of them, or if you want to see how we did these other images, you can see they always go show the store in kind of a formulaic way. One store. And how you get the proper balance. If you guys are digging this series, I can go a little bit more into how I did the interiors, how they were shot, all that kind of stuff. Let me know what you think. My name's Corey Vanderplu at Corey Photo on Twitter and Instagram. Drop a line, drop a comment, drop a subscription. Thanks for watching. Happy shooting.